I'm Jaega, and a few years ago, I was making an episode of the food programme about Spam, its history, heritage and cultural significance. One of the people I met as a part of that programme was Becky Lee Smith, known as Hanguk Kappa. Becky promotes Korean culture online in New Malden as the Koreatown of London. She gave me my first taste of Korean stew.
So what we've got in front of us is budae-jjigae, which translates as army-based stew. And the toppings inside, it's already come in a broth. And usually that broth comprises of gochujang, which is red pepper paste, and kimchi soup.
Since then, Becky has been very busy because Korean wave culture, or Hallyu as the movement is called, has been taking the world by storm. In the last 7 years, we've seen Korean dramas such as Parasite, Squid Game and K-pop Demon Hunters awarded Emmys, Grammys and Oscars and top the Netflix most watched charts around the globe. Scroll through TikTok or walk down the aisle of a makeup store and you'll be bombarded with K-beauty products. South Korea has overtaken France to become the world's second largest exporter of beauty products. And that's before we've even got into the cultural phenomenon that is K-pop. When BTS, one of the biggest K-pop bands in history, reunited on stage in Seoul earlier this year, 105,000 fans turned out to watch. A world tour this summer has already sold around 2.4 million tickets, with 41 stadium dates completely sold out. So what does this extraordinary fascination with Korean culture mean for Korean chefs, restaurants, food brands and food lovers? Becky Lee Smith is now running a regular Korean supper club, encouraging Londoners to try different restaurants and dishes. She brought me to just one example of hundreds of Korean food outlets springing up all over the city. A beautiful high-end restaurant in Covent Garden called Soon.
Yeah, this is Harry. He's the owner of...
And one of the welcome to Soon.
The meaning of Soon means breath, and the whole point of this restaurant was to be a sanctuary in the middle of busy London where you can take a breath, exhale, enjoy really good Korean foods. And the whole concept of the architecture are curved. Everything's around the circle, as in the circle of life, and how Korean food brings everyone together around a table where you share memories, share food, and the food here is really, really good as well.
Becky, tell me about growing up in the UK, being of mixed heritage.
Yeah, I spent my formative years actually pushing away my Korean identity, and it's actually thanks to K-pop that I embraced my Korean side, because when I was a teenager, my friends would tell me about these K-pop bands they were listening to, and I thought, how are my non-Korean friends telling me about Korean music? And then I kind of did my own deep dive into it. And then that was kind of my gateway into this whole Hallyu wave, Korean wave.
When did you first notice the rise of K-pop in the UK?
It would have been around 2010, probably Psy Gangnam Style, but then there were all these K-pop bands getting out in the world. But I think the main catalyst for K-pop going on a global stage was BTS. They encompass everyone and they just make you feel happy about life.
It's an interesting pathway to the popularity of Korean food in the UK, K-pop and K-beauty, and the export of culture to Britain and the increase in popularity of the food because of that.
The whole soft power from the Korean government, it actually started in the 90s when they saw that Jurassic Park had grossed more than the sales of Hyundai. And then I think that's when they realized that you can have more power through soft power, through culture, than just manufactured exports. And then I think they kind of had this program of pushing soft power through K-pop, K-drama, Korean food. And then through that, they were able to sell more of their manufactured, like Hyundai, Samsung, LG. And for me, seeing things like K-pop Demon Hunter represent Korean food in the film, it to me is crazy how the food that I was embarrassed of as a child is now being put out there on the world stage. And even the kind of the details of the gimbap, the rice roll, they even included the shine of the sesame oil that you put on the gimbap and all those small attention to detail. Just, it's so surreal to me to see how the world has embraced Korean food and how we can all share and love it together.
This concept of sharing and togetherness is a theme that came up time and time again whilst I was making this programme and seems central to the way Koreans eat. So I was keen to find out a little bit more about the history and ethos of Korean food. Dr. Jian Kye is a professor of Korean linguistics at Oxford University. Jian grew up in Seoul but has been living in the UK for 25 years and says it's been fascinating to watch how the interest in our home country and its food, music and culture has grown through Hallyu, the Korean wave.
Hallyu is a word now in Oxford English Dictionary, so it's almost properly had English citizenship as well as Korean. But the word appeared about 20-some years ago and first used in China, East Asia, Southeast Asia, and now globally. At the beginning of Hallyu, the K-pop, K-drama, film, but at the very heart, it's Korean-inspired. But it's grown so much. K-pop is very popular, very powerful, as we all know. But I think it gave a gateway for people to also enjoy other things like K-drama and K-film. And I think also that gave them audience desire to look like them, the actors, or to live like them, to eat like them too. They can't make kimchi, but they may be able to buy kimchi. And they may be able to experience what is KFC, Korean fried chicken, is like. It gives them fun experience because they watched it in the film and they can do the same. 20 years ago, you may not be able to do this because accessibility was limited, but now you can get food quite easily in UK. So I think it creates more desire.
In 2021, 26 Korean words made it into the Oxford English Dictionary, and many of them were food-focused, such as bulgogi, barbecue grilled meat, and kimbap, rice rolls, both Korean dishes becoming globally popular. Alongside studying the impact of Hallyu, Jian is passionate about food and has even written a bilingual book of poetry called Have You Had Your Rice, based around the connection between food, memory, family and love.
All kinds of different ways saying hello, but in Korean, all the time people ask you a question, have you had your rice? My mother now, she passed away this year, so I miss her very much, but for 25 years, whenever she picks up her phone, the first thing she asks me is, have you had your rice? Always about rice, but it's actually about people. She cares about me, so she asks me. And then we end all the time, make sure you have good rice. Mom, I'm here in this country where everybody eats bread, potato. This was her way of expressing love and care. And everyone in Korea asks about, have you had your rice? And I think it's quite special in terms of like caring one's well-being. Of course, you ask how you are, but have you had good rice? Which also means, are you happy? After Korean War, we didn't have much. I still remember that we had one bowl of rice, which we had to share with our neighbors. The meaning of rice, have you had your rice, is also not just about yourself, but it's also a kind of expression to think about the life surrounding you and care for others.
And back at Soom Restaurant, Becky Lee agrees that Korean food culture is very much about sharing and community.
The main ethos of Korean food for me is eating together collectively, and the traditional way of eating food, which I grew up with, was rice, soup, and a jaega, which is a stew. And then you have all the banchan, all the side dishes. And in any Korean restaurant, you always see loads of dishes on the table, which makes it feel full and invites you to share, to put things on others' plates. Or even with barbecue, the polite way would be, if it's your turn to turn the meat, before you put on your own plate, you put it on others and make sure everyone has food before you do. And that kind of culture or ethos of eating has become entrenched in the Korean identity. And it's always about sharing and giving. And if I were to summarize it in one word, I would say jang, which means giving, hospitality. And that meaning is so meaningful that there's actually a Korean food festival happening called Jum. I think this is one of the first Korean food festivals we've ever had in London. And I think that shows really what it means in Korean culture.
Well, I wanted to find out more about Jung Festival, the first ever Korean food event of its kind in London. Roland Lee is a content creator who shares reviews of Asian restaurants in London to his hundreds of thousands of online followers. He's one of the people promoting the festival, and I caught up with him a few weeks before it was due to get underway. He told me Korean food is proving hugely popular with his followers right now.
Yeah, I think it was just the content that the audience was craving. And I think I was very lucky because I just started during COVID with TikTok. And it was around that time when like Squid Game was becoming super popular and like BTS was becoming really popular. And I think people wanted to see more Korean food in general. Like they didn't know where to go. I was focusing on more on the dishes. Like for this dish, you should go to this restaurant. For this dish, you should go to that restaurant. Korean food in general is very eye-catching with like a lot of cheese pulls and sizzling, grilling in front of you. So I think it was just like the perfect storm.
In your line of work, content creation, you must follow a lot of K-pop stars, and they do a huge amount of food content. What do you think there is to be gained by pop stars Instagramming about food or TikToking about food?
Koreans, they just love food. Even like if you watch a lot of Korean TV shows, the scenes happen a lot in front of the table or at restaurants, drinking and eating. So I think it was very natural for like even K-pop stars to do a lot of food content. And I think that also resonated with a lot of fans, and the fans wanted to try it. And the restaurants were opening related to that kind of food. For example, like Korean corn dog.
And you're running a festival very soon. Why now?
I think there has been a crave for Korean food recently with Korean TV shows and K-pop, and the interest has been growing. And I think it was just a perfect timing to have a Korean food festival. It's called Jung Festival. Jung is a word like actually that doesn't really exist in English, but it is a concept that does exist. So it's like similar to attachment or affection, but it's more like a feeling that you accumulate over time. For example, there's like an off license, you go every day and you meet the cashier every day. You don't necessarily know their name, but you see them every day. You kind of build this relationship. And like maybe on Christmas Day, you feel like, oh, maybe I should bring some chocolate for them, because you slowly build that relationship. And basically, Jung means that it's similar to affection, but it's kind of not. And we wanted to share that feeling with the visitors.
Well, we'll find out whether they succeed in creating that feeling for their visitors later in the programme when we head to the Jung Festival itself. Someone else who's really watched and embraced the huge shift in attitude to Korean food in the UK and the US is Korean-American chef, restaurateur, writer and TV personality Judy Ju. And I've come to meet her at Soulbird, her Korean street food offering at Westfield Shopping Centre. Born in the mid-1970s in New Jersey in the US to Korean immigrant parents, Judy tells me when she was growing up, the availability of authentic Korean food was very limited.
Back then, nobody knew what Korea was, what Korean food was. You couldn't even buy Korean food anywhere. It's crazy that you can walk into Tesco now and buy gochujang. You can walk into any grocery store and buy kimchi, And my parents, because of that, had to make everything from scratch, like everything from scratch. Now everything comes ready-made, and that wasn't the case back then. It was a really unknown, esoteric, and unsung cuisine of Asia. We would get these huge packages from Korea that had all these dried ingredients in it, like dried chili flakes, so the gochugaru, or like, dried seaweed. Even the dried seaweeds that you can get at Itsu and everywhere now, like that, you had to brush oil on it, salt it, and then fry each individual sheet. It was a ton of work to really get the flavors that we were craving.
What was that like, being the daughter of Korean immigrants growing up in
middle of New Jersey.
The US with American food, what was that like?
It was tough. My sister and I were the only specks of color in our entire school, and so again, embarrassed by our lunchbox. We didn't necessarily want to advertise that we were Korean, and would beg my mom not to pack anything smelly or weird, or not to pack me dumplings or kimbap and stuff. And I think it's so crazy now that all these young kids are now craving all these flavors, and ethnic lunches are now all the rage, and everybody wants these items. And so, I just wanted ham and cheese sandwiches.
Though she started her career on Wall Street, Judy's love of food led her to retrain as a chef. And after launching her first Korean restaurant, Jinju, in London in 2014, she's now launched Soulbird in 5 locations across the UK and US, including shopping centres, sports arenas and entertainment venues like Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and Madison Square Gardens. But during her classical training as a French pastry chef and early career working for Gordon Ramsay, Judy says Korean influences were definitely not making it onto the restaurant menus.
Back then, not at all. It wasn't until much, much later. And now you see, Korean ingredients on every single menu. Michelin-starred restaurant menus have kimchi, gochujang, doenjang, anything Korean on it. But when I was working in kitchens, no way.
When did you notice the shift?
I would say probably within the past 5 to 7 years, there's been a real shift.
What changed, do you think?
K-pop and K-dramas and K-beauty. The Korean wave, they call it the Hallyu wave, finally hit the shores of Europe and the UK. But it's really been driven by K-pop and K-dramas. Yeah, people are addicted. Yeah, I mean, the BTS army is real. Groups like Blackpink.
Oh, look at this. Sorry, we've been interrupted by some delicious...
There we go.
What are these? What are these?
Wow.
This spread looks really incredible. It's kind of overwhelming in terms of the smells and the colours and the textures.
Yes. So I'm glad you said that, because Korean food is all about the rule of 5. And every meal you have to have the 5 colors, the 5 flavors and textures. And this is how you are ensured to get all your vitamins, minerals, and nutrients for the day.
Excellent.
So when you sit down at a traditional Hanshik table, you get all the little dishes. So all of those little dishes are a very Korean way to eat, and you share them all so that you get, a wide variety of food. So you're always eating the rainbow.
Wow.
So we've got tteokbokki here. Have you had this? Oh, tteokbokki version! Oh my gosh!
I recognise it.
So I'm gonna have you try this on air, because it's unlike anything you've ever had before. So you're gonna grab one of these and bite into that, and tell me what you think. Yeah.
It's like tapioca kind of flavour.
It's like a gnocchi.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's called tteok, Tteok. And it's a chewy rice cake. So this is something that's so traditional. We eat them in soups. They come in different shapes and different sizes. And it's one of the most favorite and beloved street foods in Korea. Isn't that so nice? One of the members of BTS said that this was their favorite dish. And then tteokbokki sales skyrocketed globally after he said that.
In terms of trends that are happening generally, you spoke about K-pop having a big effect on the popularity of Korean food. Do you adapt the menu at all to trends?
Oh yeah, we'll put specials on. And actually we have a collaboration with Nongshim, with the K-pop Demon Hunters, so they have a license for that. And there was kind of like a ramen trend going on, so we're putting some Korean ramen dishes on the menu, etc. I mean, it's marketing, right? So yeah.
Well, it's so interesting. It sounds like you are all in on trends, K-pop, Korean culture, how that's viewed in the UK.
Definitely.
You're releasing a cookbook on the topic.
Oh yeah. It's called Mokja, which means let's eat, and it's all of fan favorite recipes from K-pop, K-dramas, and more.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot of the recipes are, of course, classic Korean recipes like Korean barbecue and soups and stews, etc. But a lot of the recipes are also the fun things that have been featured in the film. So I don't know if you saw Parasite, but in Parasite, there's this one scene where they kick the squatter down the stairs, but they're making 2 instant ramen noodles. So they've taken shin ramyeon and japaghetti instant noodle, and they mix the 2 instant noodles, and they just mash them together, and they put steak on top. That's a recipe in the book, Squid Games, that little candy that they have to cut out.
Yes.
So that's the recipe in a book. So I'm taking recipes that have been featured in some of the greatest Korean dramas and movies, and also BTS, inspiration. Some of the recipes that the girls from Blackpink have said that they love. So some things are literally very, very simple that aren't really recipes, but have shown up and are a serious part of culture in Korea. And I've done kind of fun and clever things, like BTS has a song named Butter. Smooth, I don't know if this is like smooth like butter. And so there's also a very popular flavor of a potato chip in Korea that went viral. It was sold out everywhere, and like a bag of honey butter chips was selling for like $50 on eBay because nobody could get honey butter chips. So this honey butter thing was a thing. And so I'm doing a recipe for honey butter potato chips, all inspired by BTS.
And it's not just restaurants. Chefs and food writers that are capitalising on the extraordinary popularity of Korean culture right now. Supermarkets are also very much in on the action. Online supermarket Ocado says it saw a 70% increase year on year in sales of Korean food last year. And it's launched a specialty Korean aisle in response. Sales of an instant version of the tteokbokki rice cakes I tried at Seoulbird, which are a firm favourite of BTS, doubled between September and October 2025. At Sainsbury's, customer online searches for Korean rice were up 60% in January 2026 on the same month in 2025. And Aldi says its Korean-style noodle packs are performing particularly well. Becky Lee Smith tells me she's witnessed a huge shift in the availability of ingredients.
It's great seeing how companies like Ongi, the grab and go from Waitrose, Bibigo that is now selling in Sainsbury's, Costco. I think I've even seen it in Morrison's, and it's kind of Korean food made easy for at home. And I never thought I'd envision seeing Korean food so accessible to everyone. So even if you don't have the time to make all the ingredients from scratch, you can still enjoy Korean food from the comfort of your home or in all the many restaurants in London. It's so wild to see just the change for me from growing up having to explain where Korea is on a map, people ask where I am, to now everyone embracing Korean food and people knowing more about Korea. It's so life-changing, really.
I wanted to get a better understanding of the enormous range of Korean foods now being made available in supermarkets. So I've come to Waitrose King's Cross. They've gone one step further with their offering by introducing a Korean pop-up called Ongi, where customers can watch just how the food is created and then grab the results for lunch. Jennifer Drummond is the store's operations excellence manager.
The owner is Korean. She started with Sushi Daily, as at that time the trend was Japanese food, and then she wanted to bring it to the Western countries. It's been going really well. She's having stores for Sushi Daily all over Europe. And then now she sees the trend is actually her own tradition or her own food, right? So she said, well, I actually have to do it for myself as well and for my own culture. So that's when she got into Ongi.
And which one performs better, the Sushi Daily or Ongi Korean Kitchen?
Good question. Ongi, of course, is a new one, right? We have just two sites. The first one started in Bath, and the second one is this one, King Cross. It's performing at the moment better Ongi here in King Cross. In Bath, it's still better Sushi Daily. Here in London, you get more young people, right? People that is more aware about the Korean concept and culture. I think right now, as you say, the trend of Korean culture, dishes and music, skincare and all this is making a big aware. In Bath, you get another type of people. You get a little bit more elderly that you need to have maybe more education.
So how do supermarkets go about reacting to cultural trends like the Hallyu wave? Stephen Parkins Knight is the Senior Innovation Executive Chef at Waitrose.
You can see. Oh. That's based on the trend that we saw where we mixed a little bit of sweetness of the gao-chang. So the innovation team will have a look at all the data and information, whether it's influencers or background check into sort of like trends that are emerging around the world And if we've decided on a certain theme or something that we're looking at, we'll deep dive into that and explore it. Once that's done, we'll take all of that data, and that will be visual stimuli, if you like, images or restaurants or people that are doing something that we're watching beginning to get traction. We'll formulate that into a plan. That will be presented to the development team, and we're going to think how we're going to bring that to life.
We've been exploring the link between K-pop and K-beauty and K-drama and the rise in popularity of Korean food. How much do you pay attention to Korean trends or just general trends in terms of determining what you put on your shelves?
A lot of the time it's a lot of influencers or social media when that springs about, and it's how good you are at reacting to that. So that if something is seen on TV or they see something that's experienced or blown up on TikTok or the influencers, for example, I think when the kids went gaga over the cucumber and gochujang thing that everyone seemed to be making, they could run along to Waitrose and grab the paste that they were using to make that, but they probably wouldn't get anywhere else. I think things like Bridgerton, when they were doing afternoon tea, we were ready for that. You just suddenly see this spike in sales where everyone's going mad over afternoon tea because they want to recreate what they've seen on TV.
I'm just interested in the way sourcing the ideas have changed over a period of time. So 10 years ago, you wouldn't have been scrolling TikToks to get ideas of what to put on the shelf.
Well, if you think about it, now that everybody that has a device can go anywhere in the world on that phone, and you think the younger generation now that are able to do that when they turn on the device, what they can see, how that influences them. My daughter being one of those people in question that will look at things and come in, she'll have her phone going. And this may sound very old-fashioned, but when you used to have TV screens on and the chef was doing the food and you'd be cooking along with that person to do that dish, they're now holding a phone watching an Instagram or an influencer do something really quickly. They're even showing them how to shop in the supermarket to go find those products and say, this is what you need to buy, this is what it can make.
Well, let's look at some of the stats for Waitrose stores because they're pretty phenomenal. Your sales of gochujang paste are up 71% on the previous year, and searches for Korean chicken have gone up by 974%.
That's crazy.
That's incredible.
And that's just looking out to see what's going on, on the internet. The searches themselves and the recipe searches seem to go through quite a lot when you're searching for information. And I think it just tells you that if people are interested in something, that it's best to explore that.
And how do you view the Korean food trend? Are you planning for the long term, or do you think it's going to be a shorter term flash in the pan food trend? Where is Waitrose's positioning on this?
Things like this will be quite long term. There's no downturn. When you give me those stats about the interest that people are showing on that, it will only increase. And that covers the different generations and age groups of people that do that. So you could have the grandchildren or the younger generation bringing in their parents, wanting them to buy certain things that they probably may overlook, but their TikTok and their interest is, can we get that because I want to make this? And that will just gain more traction. I wouldn't see it disappearing.
Back at Soom Restaurant, Becky introduces me to one of the owners, Ho Kim. He's witnessed the incredible impact K-pop stars can have on the food industry firsthand.
There was recently one case where we didn't know a group of customers came, and one of them was a member of Stray Kids, and we didn't know because he had a cap. And then all of a sudden, there were a lot of customers, Asian customers, coming in, and where did this member sat? And they wanted to know what he ordered. What he done was, we found out later by the fans, he uploaded, not our restaurant brand or anything like that, he uploaded this table like this and the food. The fans figured it out, it was here. And they came and they were packed with people ordering the same things. And
did you have enough in the kitchen?
And someone else who really understands the link between K-pop and the popularity of Korean food is the owner of Little Korea Restaurant in Chinatown, Senna Kim. Senna has catered for some of the biggest K-pop bands in the world when they are in the UK.
So we're downstairs in the Little Korea Restaurant in Chinatown, and there are K-pop bands all over the wall. Yes. So who do we have here?
This is 80s.
Oh.
Yeah, after concert, they came to my restaurant, have a big party.
And you've got lots of other bands on the wall. Who are these? Oh, who are these?
BTS.
It's BTS.
Yes.
Okay, so which K-pop bands have you catered for?
We did all of them. BTS.
All of them?
Yeah, with Blackpink, we did it twice. and BTS Jin last year.
Yes.
Yeah, most of them. Yeah.
So you've been in business so long, you will have seen the change in trend, the massive rise in the popularity of Korean culture. How has it affected business?
All right, okay. The 20 years ago, customers just they order just some popular food like dolso bibimbap, hot stumble rice. But now I remember one customer, she didn't see the menu and she, tteokbokki. Can I have a tteokbokki, please? She ordered only one tteokbokki, no drink, anything. Maybe from drama or maybe K-pop artists, they mentioned about tteokbokki. It was my favorite food or whatever. So the customer, they just come, I want to try this. So from drama, I asked to them, how did you know? And they, from drama, they knew exactly what they want.
Which dishes are particularly K-pop inspired or K-pop bands like to eat?
K-pop band, they like samgyeopsal, pork, barbecue. And then also we have 양념 chicken, one of the best seller.
What about the diet of K-pop stars?
Diet?
Yeah, just because a lot of these foods, I mean, like the chicken, for example, deep fried chicken, it's not going to be the best for you in terms of health. And a lot of these K-pop stars, they're very trim, they're very beautiful, they look like they don't eat a huge amount of this kind of deep fried chicken. Do you have to make healthy options?
Previous, they didn't ask it to us, but now they have something specific, like allergy or gluten-free, or I heard from some the artist manager or stuff, they didn't eat much.
So there are some health conscious K-pop stars, yes.
Yeah.
The standard of perfectionism that K-pop stars are expected to adhere to is a recurring theme in my conversations. K-pop idols typically start their training very young, with years of dance and singing lessons before auditioning for a traineeship with a particular entertainment company. And that in itself can last several more years before they're allowed to make their debut. Dr. Jiyoung Khae from Oxford University tells me this type of discipline is not unique to the K-pop industry in Korea.
It's not just K-pop idols. The training in South Korea, the education, when I was in Korea, was quite normal for me to be at school from 8 a.m. until 10 p.m. That was my everyday in South Korea. Everyone in my age went to school at 8 a.m., came back home 10 or 11 or whatever. So, this work ethics and training, for Korean mindset, you have to understand it within the broad contextualized setting, how the Koreans sort of work ethics worked in this way to make it perfect. Because for Koreans, after war, we didn't have a lot of resources, many things to offer, but they believe in education. And maybe this is the way how Korean economy and Korean culture became so popular in one sense. And I think these ethics also are planted within the K-pop industry. And this is how the idols trained in such extreme way.
And Becky Lee agrees that for K-pop idols, perfectionism is just part of the norm.
I know that they probably have to eat very healthy to maintain their physique and dancing, singing at the same time. And I think that reflects Korean culture of everything aesthetically in the outside has to be perfect.
But that strive for perfection, do you think that carries over into food?
Yes, I do. In terms of the preparation, the ingredients, that comes behind it, everything is done so immaculately. Like I remember watching my mum make kimchi when I was younger, and I'd always try to help. She'd be like, no, you just watch with your eyes, because she didn't want me to mess up any procedure, because it's very scientific how to make kimchi. And I would just remember as well seeing the church ladies preparing the food. Everything is so meticulous, and the presentation, there's so much thought that goes into it, because it's not just food to fill your stomach, it's a collective experience. And I think that's kind of what differs with Korean food and eating in the West, that it's not an individual experience, it's meant to be experienced with others.
So surely it's time to meet some bona fide Korean pop stars. 2Z are an up-and-coming K-rock band currently touring in Europe and newly arrived in London.
Nice to meet you. My name is Hojin and I'm a vocalist of 2Z.
Hi guys, my name is Jaega and I'm bass player of 2Z. Nice to meet you guys.
Can I ask
how did you all become a band? So you're all fashion models.
Yeah.
Wow, first of all.
Yeah.
So how do you go from modeling to music?
Actually, first time, we just have an audition for being a band. And at the time, we don't know about music. Actually, Junon and me, we failed the audition first time.
In this program I'm making, I've been looking at the rise of K-pop, K-rock stars, and just how that has increased the popularity of Korean culture, and especially Korean food around the world, and especially around the UK. I mean, when you're touring around the world, can you get hold of Korean food?
자주 만날 수 있나요? We think like it's really easier to find a Korean restaurant. Like it's easier to find Korean restaurant, but like easier to eat.
How authentic is the food when you travel around the world? How like Korean food in Korea is the food in London, for example?
Almost similar. Almost. Because many Korean comes to here, and then they open the restaurant. So that's why I think the food is similar.
We've been eating in Korean restaurants all day, and one of the things a lot of the restaurant owners have said to us is when big K-stars, when you say something about a particular food or particular trend, it becomes absolutely huge. It becomes viral.
Yeah, first of all, like really, really happy to hear that. The fans are really curious about like when they cooked Korean food. They wanted to make like the cooking contests by them, like, you know, so that's why a lot of foreigner fans like interest in Korean food.
Korean bands have quite a specific look. Like you're all very beautiful, and no, you are, and no, but it's almost like the pursuit of perfection. Is there a specific diet regime that you guys have to follow in order to kind of meet the standards?
I think we are a band, and we have to do live. So I think the most important thing is energy and eat well, because we have to sing, we have to play performance. That is more important than diet.
Like we are on like diet differently each person.
Yeah.
For me, like some cardio, like CrossFit, and then like some of members like they avoid like high calories food or like just work out. Yeah.
Could you give us some exclusives in terms of your favorite Korean dishes that perhaps our listeners would love to hear about?
For me, I think kimchi jjigae is my soul food. Yeah. During the tour, always in my mind, there's always kimchi jjigae.
Well, now it's early May, and 2Z have performed in London and headed off to Brazil for the next leg of their tour. And back at King's Cross, the Jung Korean Food Festival is going down a storm. Social media footage shows miles of queuing festival goers snaking along Regent's Canal, with some visitors waiting several hours to gain entry. I caught up with organiser Roland Lee just before the gates open.
How awesome does this look?
I know. I can't believe it is coming together, actually.
I've done a walk through the festival and it looks incredible. There are queues waiting to get in, and there is a whole variety of different foods on offer. Lots of street food, Korean fried chicken, kimchi, lots of snacks. It is going to be busy. There seems to be a huge amount of interest in the festival as a whole, and I think it really speaks to the popularity of Korean food and the popularity of Korean culture. What's it like seeing your festival come to life?
Unreal. Like I didn't feel like it was happening until yesterday, and now looking at it, it's actually really happening.
And do you feel like you've captured Jung at the Jung Festival?
I hope we did, and I hope people will feel Jung as they come to the festival.
Jung is a term that I hadn't heard of, but it's a word that I now feel a kinship with. In the making of this program, everywhere we've gone, everyone has been so hospitable. And this link between community and food, a way of welcoming someone into your restaurant, into your home, into your lives, is really something quite special. So to me, Jung, having experienced it here, it is this feeling of familiarity, of community, of neighborliness, and having that wrapped up in food and food culture is a beautiful thing.
So I'm going to leave you with Dr. Jian Keir from Oxford University with a poem about her mother and father. Have you had your rice?
Have you had your rice? A bowl of rice, fresh from the pot, tucked under the warm blanket. Mother saved it for father. For when he comes home, the spoon on the table waits, just like we do. The night deepens, a soft creak. The brushwood gate scrapes open. But it's not father, it's the neighbor. A widowed mother of 4. The rice meant for father slips quietly into the night. Father has long departed into the same night. Still, mother sets the table. A bowl of pollock soup, a plate of aged kimchi, a bowl of steaming rice. When she blows, each grain, soft and white, surrenders. Mother's voice asks, "Shall I pour rice into the soup or soup over the rice? Is it the kimchi calling the rice or the rice calling the kimchi?" Mother calls her adult daughter across oceans. "Don't skip your meals. You must eat well, because we live on rice strength." Have you had your rice?
Please welcome your Any Questions panel. Hello, I'm Alex Forsyth, host of Radio 4's Any Questions. If you don't know the programme, this is what it's about. Every Friday, I'm joined by politicians, journalists and public figures who answer questions directly from a live audience, giving you real views, real challenges and real conversations about the issues shaping our lives. We take our lively debate to communities across the UK, where they get to ask the questions about the topics that matter the most. Live political debate where the audience drives the agenda. Any Questions, every Friday night at 8 p.m. on Radio 4, or subscribe on BBC Sounds so that you never miss an episode.